I'm in the mirror looking at a work of art. Hard working these shit if they smart.
Yo, what's going on? Back with another episode of the What's Really Going On podcast. This is episode number 58. As always, it is Noah, Mackenzie, and Henry. Before we get into the episode, be sure to follow us on all of our social media. That includes Twitter and Instagram at WRGO Pod. At YouTube, be sure to watch this video, which is going to be live and full, at What's Really Going On. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and Google Podcasts. What's going on, you guys?
Good job, Noah.
That right in 3 freaking weeks. How are you guys?
Good.
Oh, awesome. All right, so we're going to get right into it. So for us, as all, I guess, DMV residents right now, Tuesday the news broke that popular bars and restaurants on U Street would be closed for the foreseeable future. They are most notably El Rey and Marvin's, RIP to those until further notice. I think this all gets to when we were talking on Tuesday, to the impact that COVID has had on businesses, more specifically Black businesses. The University of California, Santa Cruz, and the National Bureau of Economic Research found that 41% of Black-owned businesses have been shuttered by COVID compared to 17% of whites. Many businesses have struggled to receive their paycheck protection program money. COVID and Marvin's, to my understanding, are not Black-owned, but I think this gets to a conversation of like Black-owned businesses and businesses that are patroned by Black people are often the first to shut down. So kind of what did you all think about kind of like the news that like places that we went to a lot will be closing?
Okay, I thought you were
Somebody
gonna
step
go.
up. Come on.
I thought she was.
I was really so sad about El Rey. Like, El Rey is just, like, I don't know about everybody else's happy hour experiences, and I'm very particular about my happy hour experiences. I love a good deal, and I need to get, like, a little buzz. And I felt like El Rey was one of the few places that you can really count on to really, you know, get you to where you need to be before, like, you could really go there for a pregame. And it just, I don't know, I'm really sad about it. It just sucks that U Street is just going to be so different. This is truly a shift. I feel like every part of life is truly shifting. Like, nightlife is shifting. Like, I can't even, and it's so funny because I go back and I was looking at old videos of hanging out in El Rey and being on U Street, and I'm just like, wow, I can't even see being in a bar that crowded again. Like, I don't even know when that's gonna happen again. So, but I'm sad.
Henry?
That part. That's what's crazy because, like, you kind of covered a lot of what I want to talk about. Is one, like, this how like COVID has affected like Black businesses. Like, that's crazy. A lot of us, or a lot of our businesses, won't be able to recover from that. And then the aid they put out, a lot of us didn't get access to it. And then on top of that, like you said, like businesses that, like, you know, say are often like not owned by Black people, but frequented by Black people, they're largely affected because Black people are unemployed at a disenfranchised rate, so they're not frequenting these places. And then on top of that, like Mackenzie said, like, when is the next time I'm going to be at a crowded bar because of COVID and like the lack of handling of it? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, misinformation, no real like focus, the downplaying of the seriousness of it, all of that. So like pinpointing back to like the conversation of restaurants, it's just unfortunate that like the DC Black life, like, you know what I'm saying, Big Chief, Marvin's, El Rey,
it was already hanging out by a thread, honestly.
by decades, like most of the spots that I like go to or go out to, and that's the thing too, because I always like, I guess, joke with my friends in Atlanta, like, oh, DC doesn't really have a nightlife, it's more of a bar culture, and like lounge thing. So like to now see the places that I did, like that was my like nightlife. It's like, dang, okay, what's gonna happen in 2022 when, you know what I'm saying, outside of, well, I won't be in DC then, but still, you know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, that like going to El Rey was like that was like I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but like going to Howard, you had to go to everybody and like just black out one time at least. You know?
No, speak for yourself. I never blacked.
Oh, I remember that.
I've been put on my back, but I ain't never
Not
done
like black out, but that's what I mean. Like you get messed up, not black out.
Yeah.
But you get really, really messed up. I remember like when I walked, like
Don't say too much
in,
now.
I mean, I'm not ashamed of my experience. I walked in, like I went to El Rey, Founders Day. We went to El Rey.
After we did our first live show, we went to El Rey.
El Rey. Like, you know what I'm saying? That was just a spot that was very often like frequented by like Howard students. That's all I was about to say.
I mean, I think for me, oh, my bad.
No, go ahead.
No, I think the thing that's going to be interesting to see for me is that like, this is how gentrification even like starts moving even quicker, because like the places that come in are not going to have the same drive or want our money. They're not going to actually like market to us. So I think that's
that whole area.
Like
they had already started gentrifying that whole area. So like now that like the major spaces that were occupied by black people, because if we know the history of U Street, that used to be like nothing but black owned businesses, and now that's changed. And we see the development that is massively happening around DC, but specifically the 14th and U Street area, like 2013 to 2020, two different times.
Different.
You know what I'm saying? So like now that these businesses are closing, they were pushing black people outside of DC already. This is only gonna, I think, like you just said, make it easier to do that.
Yeah. So let's pour one out. So the next thing that we want to talk about is Florida and their incarcerated persons ruling. So last week, the 11th Circuit Court of the U.S. Appeals ruled that Florida can bar ex-incarcerated persons from voting if they owe court fines or fees associated with their convictions. In 2018, Florida voted to restore voting rights to ex-incarcerated persons. Estimates say it could have given as many as 1.4 million people voting rights. In 2016, Trump won Florida by fewer than 113,000 votes. So Mackenzie, what's kind of like your take on how this can impact the election and kind of like the state of voting rights and how we can fight against it? Because this is basically like a poll tax, basically saying like, if you're free, but if you didn't pay some fee from 4 years ago, you can't vote. Like when I found this out, I was like, this needs to be talked about like everywhere.
I think it's definitely messed up that, that inmates, I think in general, like, I just don't agree that if you get locked up, you shouldn't have a vote. Like, I don't really agree with that in general. So I don't really support this. This is just another way to like, another form of voter suppression, and to like, I feel like, lean into the fact that like, you don't want because most people incarcerated are probably people of color, I feel like, and you just don't want their vote. However, in the same breath, I will say, I mean, it's really no guarantee that these people would have voted either way. So like, they could have.
I don't like that stigma or ideology, because like, you don't know that. Like Snoop Dogg, he has never voted because he assumed that because I had like dealings with the police when I was younger, I couldn't vote. But he didn't have like a felony or something like that. So it's stuff like that to where like, I think like most of these people, if they could, or they knew they could participate in the like, civic process or voting, then they would. Like my father, for instance, like that, he got his voting rights restored recently, and I'm from Georgia. And you know what I'm saying, I don't know what penalties or whatever they're gonna, put on him because he's an ex-felon. But point is, like, I think that's one, like you said, another way to like control the vote, voter suppression. And then two, that's what like Meek Mill and Jay-Z was kind of like trying to fight for with like the whole parole thing of they keep you on a leash and make it easy for you to just go to jail or make these bad decisions or whatever. The fact that they're literally saying they can't vote because you might owe a fine. So let's say like this person owes that fine.
I thought you said you disagreed with something I said.
You said that they may have not voted anyway, and I said I don't like that
logic. No, I didn't say that they may have not voted. I said that they might not they may have not voted in the way that we wanted them to vote either way. Like Trump, they could have voted for Trump and Trump would have still been elected. So I don't really think that should be like,
Oh, I misheard
if
you.
they
I
would have been able to
apologize
vote,
about that.
the election would have been different. Like, I won't say that. But yeah, should
Well,
they?
yeah, I definitely I apologize. I misheard you, my bad. But I still think they have, whether they were voting in favor of Democrats or not, you have, like, as a United States citizen, you have the right to vote. Because Noah, you might be able to answer this because I was talking about somebody. Regardless if they vote or not, you're counting in the census when you do that, right?
When you vote?
Not vote, but like not do that, but like you're counting in the census, no?
You have
No,
to
you
you have to fill it out, or someone has to
out.
come to your house. Yeah, that's not how it works.
So that's a separate thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It should. It theoretically
It makes
should be
sense.
that way, but no. And I think, like, kind of to piggyback off what you were saying, Amber, like this is a part of like largely a Republican strategy. Like they wouldn't be doing this if they felt that a lot of these, probably like Mackenzie said, a lot of these Black and Latino people would probably vote their way. They wouldn't be doing it, but it fits the trend of like what we were talking about on the episode where we talked about Wisconsin, and like they're like clearly doing these things to prevent largely Black men and women from voting. And I think it needs to be like talked about it like that, because like.
So can I pose another question?
Mm-hmm.
So again, I was talking to somebody last night. So like, and they kept saying the DNC isn't doing anything, blah, blah. And like I was like, well, yeah, but no, because like I know for myself that Trump has appointed over 200, judicial position, and then beyond that, they have actively, the Republicans, since Obama has been in office since like 2008, went after.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Gerrymandering, the judicious, and all of that, they have focused on that. So, like, for me, is like, who can we say anybody that fought for how, like, how Florida legislation is able to, like, do this and withhold these people right to vote?
Someone should always be at fault, because there's always like a counterbalance. Like someone could at least always say like, the Court of Appeals ruled this, well, I'm going to be the one who's appealing to bring it to the next highest court, or I'm going to be a legislator who writes a law that says if you served X amount of time and someone should write a bill that says like if the thing that we're holding you voting for was passed a year ago, we're going to waive it. Or they should have services that are in place that should align people to do that. And like I think like Bloomberg just invested a lot of money into Florida. I think it was like $100 million. He should be the one saying like, hey, come to me or come to my organization, and if you give us proof of a fee that prevents you from voting, we're going to pay it off. Like, I think that's how people need to like counteract it, is like money needs to be behind, not just fighting it, but saying like, okay, if we can't fight this in court, or if our policies aren't working out, like if they're not getting signed, someone needs to say like, I'll eat all the money that you all have, all the bad debt that you have, so you all can just vote. And like I think we need to talk about that. Like Oprah should be like, hey, come to the organization.
It's a collective effort.
Yeah, and a part of it involves rich people being like, I got this. Jay-Z should do this.
Responsibility.
Yeah, like Jay-Z, Beyonce, Oprah, all these rich people should literally say, I got this. Come do whatever form you got, have a proof of this. I'll wait. I'll do it within a week.
That's real.
That's what someone should do. So speaking of what someone should do, Breonna Taylor settlement happened this week. The city of Louisville announced it would be paying the family of Breonna Taylor $12 million. That was news that we covered on the Twitter account and the Instagram account. What I think is also important is that the settlement also includes police reforms that went under the radar, that the mayor announced the same day. They include encouraging police to improve relations with the community through increasing what they call positive interactions. The department will retain social workers to support and assist officers on dispatch runs. The most important thing, and this could have saved Breonna Taylor's life, we don't know. The new rules that they're implementing requires EMS or paramedics to be at the scene when a forced entry warrant is required, because Breonna Taylor didn't have the time to necessarily get the medical care, because after police shot her, there was no one who was medically trained to assist her. So if God forbid, some scenario happened like that where they do a forced entry, paramedics would have to be on the scene or some EMT professional. So if something did happen, that person who was then injured by police could then receive immediate medical care. I think my thing is,
Before I go on
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, this has kind of been, I don't even know how to talk about this because I think, like, should we consider this justice? I know the answer to that question because the cops are still
Well,
out
that's
there.
what I was about to
like
say before
yeah.
I go on my me, Henry Spiel, right? This is like one of the largest settlements that has happened
In history,
in a police, right, in a history in a police brutality situation. So like, let's acknowledge that. And then what you just read, like the stipulations of the settlement, it's a small step, but whatever.
Very small.
Right. So like, Mackenzie, you asked the question of Benjamin Crump, and that this is how he plays a part. He does this, and he's done it for over like 200 plus families across America. But point is, like, it's like, because no, it's not justice. It's not like, it's really not justice. Like, them receiving that money is not like, yeah, they kids gonna be taken care of, whatever, like whatever. They got whatever. We basically, and that's what that's what's like confusing to me, because we see in all these situations, like the civil case, they get a settlement amount, a large settlement amount. But the criminal case, the officer is never held accountable. So in my head, I'm like, when is the government going to get tired of paying these people off, essentially?
I mean, right? I think that's the interesting thing, is that they had an article in, I think it was in the New York Times, that just shows how much money like the NYPD shells out in these cases every year. And it's like, it's a insane amount. So you would think that the government would be like, let's just stop doing this and actually hold these people accountable.
And that's where I am like, ugh, because it's like over and over and over again, you see like the payouts happen, they increase by like tons.
Yeah.
But there is no change in action of the police. There's no change in legislation besides like this little BS. I don't want to say BS, but I say it's BS because they're not going to put it into practice. They kept saying, like, when Trayvon and then Mike Brown and the Eric Garner, they wanted to enforce cameras. Half of these half of these people don't even wear cameras, bro.
And if they do, it still doesn't make a difference.
Right. They're not required to even turn it on, or the footage get lost, or whatever. It's like, at some point, when does the and that's what, again, I mean, I have conversations off record, and it's like, to me, it's like, it's hard as a Black American to have hope in a country who has proven themselves to you time and time again. We'll give you a little leeway, but at the end of the day, we still go boom, boom, boom. They know 10, 20 years, they're going to be the minority. So that's why they're trying to kill us off. I get the concept of it, but bro, maybe I'm on some hotel stuff now, but point is, like, I don't understand why the powers that may be haven't analyzed and realized, like, this happens in New York, it happens in Chicago, it happens in Milwaukee, it happens in Kentucky, it happens in Louisville. Well, Louisville is Kentucky. It happens all over the United States. And every single time there's a civil case and there's a criminal case, especially if Benjamin Crump gets on it and it gets the national attention, it's going to be a large payout. However, the police department, the attorney general, the governor, nobody is changing how these police are interacting with the community. Nobody is saying, if this police shoots an unarmed whomever, this is how they're being handled. Even in Atlanta, when they tried to play, you know what I'm saying, they try to make it look good, but it, like, when the kids got
Rayshard Brooks. Oh,
right. Well, that too, but because the attorney general had to recruit himself for that. So it is like, when are y'all gonna stop and be like, okay, it's not them, it's us?
I mean, look, I mean,
or am I tripping?
And Mackenzie, get in here, but I mean, clearly it's that they would rather just pay the money than actually like do anything.
That's all that is. I'm just kind of like, I guess shout out to Crump. If that's what I mean, if that's what he's there to do to get the money, sure. But like, I'm not really moved.
Yeah, I mean, this is not a victory by any by any sense, because it's like, and like Mackenzie, I think has been hitting on this from like the podcast account. It's like the whole time, Black people have literally had one ask. Like, we didn't ask for all the performative stuff. We didn't ask Muriel Bowser to paint Black Lives Matter in the street. We didn't ask for any.
And
All
they
we
paint
wanted,
over.
well, all I'm saying is that we had one ask. Breonna Taylor's family had one initial ask, and if y'all can't do that, anything else is not fulfilling the justice that y'all claim to live up to.
That she deserves. Because
Right.
that's what they do. Didn't they like make a law in her honor?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did. And
so you make a law in her honor. You do all of these, again, performative things that you just said, but
it's just all performance, and like that's what I think the $12 million is. It's like it's a grand performance.
It's
like
hush money. It's hush money.
Right, but like, and that's my thing too. I didn't read into the settlement, but I actually want to, because if they had to sign something, I'd be concerned. But like, my thing is, right. So my thing is like, it's very annoying when you continue to do these performative acts, these powers that actually have the control to actually arrest these people and prosecute them.
I mean, that's
like, wasn't the attorney general at
I don't even
rally?
know. Yes, he spoke at the RNC and used Breonna Taylor's name. Like, keep her name out.
And then y'all want to be mad at Kamala. At least she was trying to do something.
Henry said, "I'm gonna bring this in."
You always bring
we did. I think this is the first time in months we have not included her in a doc. And Henry said, "We gonna get that name in here."
Yeah, literally.
That's all right. Do it for the cause. Who put this inmate firefighter thing in here?
I did.
You want to read it, or you want?
I definitely think that's important to talk about. Go ahead,
Mackenzie. Go ahead. Take the floor.
Okay, so last Friday, California Governor Newsom, the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, signed a bill that will allow inmate firefighters to have records expunged, clearing the path for them to be eligible for firefighter jobs upon release. So if you don't know, all the fires that's been happening across California recently. They've been using inmates to put out the fires, and it's been like I don't know, like
crazy. The sky was orange,
red.
This is like not a normal California fire. Like, this is crazy. So anyways, on average, they are compensated like $3 per day and $1 for every extra. Just
literally using them as slaves.
Joke.
Yeah, we're about to. I didn't know this. We're about to tee off on this. This is
I seen this. That's why I say I'm glad she put it in there, because if we want to talk about it, prisons across America use inmates for labor all the time.
Yes, and so it's so interesting how, once again, coronavirus was, like we were saying at the beginning of the show, that how coronavirus has really impacted every business, because of coronavirus, the governor sent them home for early release because of the virus. Mm-hmm. So they weren't able to help out with the fires this past weekend, and that really impacted the turnout and who can really help, because they really do actual labor and stuff. So it was like, what did it say? It said hundreds of inmate firefighters were absent from the fire lines recently because they had already gone home, part of an early release program, highlighting the state's dependence on prisoners in its firefighting force and complicated its battle against almost 600 fires. Okay.
It's like this whole thing just is gross to me, though. I can't get over this, because
it's gross.
Because one, I mean, I want to know what the actual are these inmates who are just in there for nonviolent offenses? If so, they shouldn't be there in the first place. Like, that needs to be said. And I think also,
they're not like any murderers or anything like that.
So you could just be in there for selling a dime bag and all this. So that needs to be said. And I think also the fact that they are being compensated $3.63 a day, and that's an increase. I think that's below minimum wage. And I wish somebody would sue and be like, you're not actually paying these. Wage. Like, they should actually get this federal minimum wage that
working
everyone
wages.
keeps. Right.
They definitely should.
Like, and I don't even think they should be doing these fires in the first place. I think it's an exploitation of labor.
They're definitely exploiting them. I might get hated for this, but I will say, if they are going to use them for this, they should at least be able to walk outside and be like, okay, I have this skill set, hire me. And then
Or
shouldn't be this.
I think the better thing that they should do is, especially if you served a nonviolent offense, you should be like, hey, you let me out on the condition of me being released. I will then help you get these fires out. But my release, my freedom is conditioned upon me doing this. Not, I'm just going to help you for $3 a day and I still stay here. No.
Well, I don't like that condition either, but.
I mean, I think that's the best realistic way to make it happen. I think in general, people would probably be in there, but you shouldn't fight fires. You shouldn't risk your life for $3. Oh, not even, I read it wrong. It's $3.63 a day, not an hour. So that's even worse. I read it wrong.
No, literally slave work.
I read it wrong.
No.
All right, so we have. So thank you for putting that in. So we have 9 minutes left, so we're just going to run and quickly go to the heads up. So tomorrow, everyone, I don't know if you need Apple Music for this. If so, one of y'all hit me up with that password real quick. So tomorrow, Rap Life, Apple Music's rap playlist will feature a live event on none other than Howard University's campus. The live stream event will aim to further discussions around the importance in the Black community through dialogue and the power of music. The conversations that they will be having will feature Houston President, Howard University Student Association President, Rachel Howell, and Miss Howard Taylor Davis. The performers will include Nas, Wale, Rhapsody, and Lil Baby. So I'm looking forward to that because it looks like the production value is going to be top tier.
Is it a music video or what is it?
I'm trying to figure out what is it and why did Howard get involved?
I think this gives us a preview of what a potential virtual homecoming could look like.
Is that what that is?
No, I'm so serious. That's the best way to make it work. However, if this goes how I think it's going to go, with them literally like performing on the field and basically.
Oh, that would be a virtual homecoming. Howard would go down for history for that.
I think they would.
They would go down for history for that. So I know y'all sick of Howard. I know y'all sick of Howard.
In your mouth.
I'm sick of Howard too, but that's a look. Like, that's a look. Then they announced that Howard's leading something in research. I don't know. Shout out to Howard. I'm super excited to see what
it's a victory lap every episode.
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna just say this because Mackenzie, I know what you're talking about because we just retweeted it from the account. Howard. Everybody else been sleeping in quarantine. Howard has been grinding.
Working.
Wait, Howard said y'all in a pandemic, we in a bandemic.
They been getting donations, vice presidents running for office. We got this Rap Life thing coming out. We got people on the shot. We got people on pause. You got Young Hinder. You got what's really going on. Bro, Howard, if you ain't gotta go to Howard, I'm sorry. If you ain't go to Howard, I'm sorry for you. I mean, in your mouth.
We'd love to see it. So the last thing that we will talk about, I think this is actually really, really cool. Barbados is ditching the Queen. Barbados will remove Queen Elizabeth II as its head of state and declare a republic by November of next year. According to Prime Minister Mia Mottley, she said, "Time to fully leave our colonial past behind." That's a bar.
Say it.
Barbadians want a Barbadian head of state. The island gained independence from Britain in 1966, but the Queen remained its constitutional monarch. They will join Trinidad and Tobago, Dominica, and Guyana in cutting ties with Britain. Jamaica is also considering plans for transition.
Yes, so we love liberation.
So shout out to all these countries.
I'm getting dual citizenship and getting
I don't think you can just pull up and be like, hey, I want dual citizenship. I think you got to establish a bloodline.
Me and Breonna are best friends. We cool. You heard about the wrong thing.
Good luck.
My business. I think that's cool. I think it's cool that she specifically mentioned, like, we are leaving our colonial past. Like, There's a reason why a lot of Africans speak French, not just because we are multilingual, but
Bro,
because
let's
France
talk
ran
about
up
it.
in
Let's
there.
talk
Like,
about. Let's
I
talk.
think that's
Let's talk
great.
about it because. Never mind, but yeah, that's crazy, bro, and I'm glad that's happening. That I think the I don't want to say hype, but the momentum around just Black liberation and Black people expressing their stories and exploring their heritage and just
Definitely
learning
increasing.
right. I love the momentum around it because honestly, I have never seen it in my life to where like
Mhm.
we just truly like you know what I'm saying. We were all always Black, but it like to the point to where we just don't care how
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying. It
For you to
affects
tell the
other
queen to
people.
get the F out.
You know what I'm saying? Like this is our history. We understand. Like we're trying to understand how things happen, and with that, we understand that like we been knew we deserved our rights, but now more than ever, we're going to demand
Yeah.
our rights. So honestly, now as somebody else too, I'm curious to see what happens in America in the next coming years.
Quiet. What am I mean, we can't. What you want us to do? Unless we go back to Africa. Shoot. I like how Mackenzie and I both look down like, hey, I don't know about that, Chief. I don't know what we can do. So that's all that we have. You guys have anything else?
Merch coming soon. Merch coming soon. Merch coming soon. Bro, I'm putting in work. Merch coming soon.
Henry is putting in work. I can confirm that. So that is the 58th episode. Mackenzie and Henry, thank you very much. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at WRGO Pod. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube at What's Really Going On. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and Google Podcasts. 2 for 2, I got it right. So thank you guys.
Yeah.